This recipe was one of the most requested recipes when I was posting my meals videos. So we decided to make it its own video to teach you how to make some healthy brownies that you can have as a late night treat, afternoon snack, or even breakfast. If you're just meeting me, my name is Amy Cross and this is the Cross Legacy, where I teach you how to reduce your produce waste and save money on groceries and give you all kinds of ideas on how to make healthy meals and snacks for your family. So these brownies are packed with all kinds of goodness, and we will go through all the ingredients here, but I want to encourage you that you can add and sneak in a little bit more healthy things even into those treats that you might have for your family. Or like me, I'm diabetic, so I'm always really watching the sugar content and things. So this recipe, you can also start with almost zero sugar in it and then add as much as you want up to what I suggest in the recipe. So you can really balance this out, what is the best for your family. And because when my kiddos are home, we are gluten-free, so I have made these with oatmeal that I just put in my Magic Bullet blender for just a couple seconds, and that will grind that up into a flour. One of the tricks I have when I'm using my Magic Bullet is I kind of shake it a little bit just to make sure everything is getting mixed in really well. But within like 30 seconds, you can have flour out of oatmeal. And if you got gluten-free oatmeal, then this can be completely gluten-free for your family. But you can substitute any flour you want to use. Now, the other thing that we're using in this is zucchini. So I love being able to get zucchini and use it for dinners and breakfast, all the different things, but to be able to sneak it into some recipes to get those added vegetables in a snack or dessert is pretty great. And with the zucchini, I did shred this up. I had 2 small zucchini, and then I made sure to peel them so it kind of hides the fact that there's zucchini in there a little bit more, and I shred those up. Now you either want to use some paper towels or a cheesecloth and squeeze out any of the extra moisture in that. And if you want it even smaller pieces, you can chop that up easily with a knife, or you can put it into your blender and chop it up so it's extra fine. This is a little Magic Bullet that I use to grind up the flour. I could also put the zucchini in here and chop it up a little bit more if I wanted to. I just did it quickly with my knife, but this is really handy to have. And as I'm doing it, I kind of shake it a little bit. You will see in the video, but I like that I don't always have to pull out my big blender that I don't leave on my countertop, and this fits really easily in my cabinet. So I use my Magic Bullet blender all of the time. Something else that I used for this recipe that I get asked about is this cheese grater. So it's really simple. Again, I have a KitchenAid with the cheese attachment, but I don't want to pull it out all the time. And this cheese grater is pretty handy. I like that it has the rubber on the bottom so it doesn't slide around on the cutting board, and it's super easy to clean, and you can put it in the dishwasher. So I like some smaller tools like this that I can put away easily in my small kitchen and be able to use them multiple ways. And then for some of the sweetness in this, and so we don't have to add extra oil, we are using applesauce. This is actually pears that I had cooked down to make an applesauce kind of consistency. So if you've been following along in my pantry videos, you know that I've been on a pantry challenge trying to use up some things, and I was able to substitute these pears for applesauce and use up an ingredient I already had in my house. This recipe does call for 1 egg, and I know right now people are worried about the price of eggs. They are coming down a little bit with it being springtime now and the chickens are laying more. But if you're an allergy family and you're trying to replace an egg because of an allergy, there's some other things that you can do to switch that out. So you can add banana instead of the egg, or things like chia seeds, flaxseed, or if you have garbanzo beans, the liquid in a can is called aquafaba. That can also be an egg replacer in recipes. So if you're trying to avoid having an actual egg in this recipe, there's many different options for that. If you would like us to make a more detailed video on eggs, let me know. Another item that we are sneaking into this recipe is some Greek yogurt, and that will add a little bit extra protein in this. And I like that this is a recipe I can use when I'm trying to use up some of my Greek yogurt that I have in my refrigerator. So if you're storing this in a glass jar with a metal lid, Greek yogurt will last 6 weeks normally. That's what it says on the container. And when you store it in a glass jar with a metal lid, then it'll be about 2 weeks past that. But since I only go grocery shopping once every 3 to 4 weeks, I make sure that we try to use up anything that we have left over so I can buy a big container of it when we go grocery shopping again. If you're curious about how I go grocery shopping, we have all of our grocery haul videos that we post here on the channel. And then I am adding a little bit of collagen protein powder to this. You can skip it if you want, or you can add more if you would like your protein count a little bit higher in this. It doesn't change the flavor at all, and you'll be able to have a little bit more protein packed in your brownies. And then for the sweetener, I am going to either add a little bit of maple syrup or a little bit of honey. If you were making this for like a little one that isn't eating honey yet, then I would use the maple syrup instead. And you could start this a tablespoon and add a little bit more, all the way up to a 1/4 cup. So depending on what your goals are, you can start it very small with the amount of sweetener in it, especially because it's getting a little bit of sweetness from the applesauce. And then we're going to top this with some dark chocolate chips. Again, I'm diabetic. These chocolate chips that I have are actually the sugar-free ones that I get at Costco. So I normally don't tell Mike that they're the sugar-free ones, and then he doesn't care. But that is another kind of sneaky way that I'm able to have these brownies as a treat for me, and it has a lot of protein in it and it doesn't raise my sugars too much. And we're going to add just some basic pantry items. We have some unsweetened cocoa powder, some salt, some vanilla. I make my own vanilla, and then you can also add some cinnamon to this if you would like. And the last item here is baking soda. So we are going to end up mixing all of the wet ingredients together in a bowl, and then we will add the dry ingredients in. And oh, before we go to do that, I have a little secret for this. Let me grab it. So I am using just a square baking pan. I think it's an 8x8. So an 8x8, 9x9, however thick you want your brownies. But when you take your parchment paper that will fit into the pan, so they're easier to get out, if you just get this wet first and crinkle it up, it will fit into the bowl much easier, and your brownies will turn out perfect. So those 2 little zucchinis made exactly 1 cup of shredded zucchini. Okay, we added all of the wet ingredients into this recipe, and then the dry ingredients, and I added a handful of chocolate chips in it. And then I made sure to wet this parchment paper and put it in the dish. But as I was doing that, I also remembered that it would probably be a good reminder to remind you that wax paper and parchment paper are not the same thing. And wax paper cannot go into the oven or it can catch fire. So make sure that you're using parchment paper when you're doing this, and it's okay to just grease the pan too and not use any parchment paper. So we are going to take these brownies and spread them out evenly here in the dish, and then top them with some chocolate chips, and away in the oven they're going to go. I love as these brownies cool down, they crack a little bit on the top, so you get that perfect brownie feeling when you're having them out. And the parchment paper, it just makes it so you can just lift it out of the pan super easy. And I'm going to cut these up. Somebody asked me how long they will last. This normally makes 9 brownies. We normally eat these in a couple days, but you could also freeze these if you were trying to stretch out those servings a little bit further, and you can pull them out later. So I would say probably about a week. We normally eat them before then, but they are very delicious, and I don't even mind if we grab them for breakfast.